Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivanadari Gopi Janavalabha Girivanadari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravikadrajacharya Shotar Shata Shishiman His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Hare Krishna Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right, today reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 29. Chapter entitled Answers by Citing the Lord's Version. So word for word. Bhagavat Shikshitam Aham Karavani Hi Atandrita Na Ihamanaha Praja Sargam Padyeyam Yat Anugrahat Bhagavat Shikshitam Aham Karavani Yatendrita Nehamana Praja Sargam Vadhedyam Yananugrahat Bhagavat Shikshitam Aham Karavani Yatendrita Nehamana Praja Sargam Vadhedyam Yananugrahat Bhagavat Shikshitam Aham Karavani Hyatendrita Nehamana Praja Sargam Adhyayam Yad Anugrahat Okay. Word for word. Okay. Sorry, wrong page. Okay. Bhagavat, by the personality of Godhead. Shikshitam, taught. Aham, myself. Karavani, by acting. He, certainly. Atendrataha, instrumental. Na, never. Hiyamanaha, although acting. Praja sargam, generation of living entities. Vityayam, be conditioned. Yet, as a matter of fact. Anugrahat, by the mercy of. Okay, translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Please tell me, so that I may be taught in the matter by the instruction of the personality of Godhead, and may thus act instrumentally to generate living entities, without being conditioned by such activities. Brahmaji does not want to become a speculator dependent on the strength of his personal knowledge and conditioned to material bondage. Everyone should know in clear consciousness that one is, in the execution of all activities, an instrument. A conditioned soul is instrumental in the hands of the external energy, gunamayi maya, or the illusory energy of the Lord. And in the liberated stage, the living entity is instrumental to the will of the personality of Godhead directly. To be instrumental to the direct will of the Lord is the natural constitutional position of the living entity, whereas to be an instrument in the hands of the illusory energy of the Lord is material bondage for the living entity. In that conditioned state, the living entity speculates on the absolute truth in his different activities. But in the unconditioned stage, the living entity directly receives knowledge from the Lord. And as such, a liberated soul acts flawlessly without any speculative habit. The Bhagavad Gita 10:10-11 confirms emphatically that the pure devotees who are constantly engaged in the loving transcendental service of the Lord are directly advised by the Lord, so much so that the devotee unwaveringly makes progress on the path home back to Godhead. Pure devotees of the Lord are therefore not proud of their definite progress, whereas the non-devotee speculator is in the darkness of illusory energy and is very much proud of his misleading knowledge based on speculation without any definite path. Lord Brahma wanted to be saved from that pitfall of pride, although he was posted in the most exalted position within the universe. Om Jnana Tamanandasya Jananjana Salakaya Chakshura Yulmanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Ganamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shukta Parakamanam Shinkarum Vaishnavam Shah Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganavtam Mitam Tam Shajivam Savadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saritam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalitam Shri Vishakamitam Shah Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimante Bhakti Vikas Swami Nitamane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimante Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Devashesha Shunivari Paskataras Tarnine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Bhagavat Shittitam aham karavani yatendrata nehamana prajasargam bhejyam yad anugrahat. In translation, please tell me so that I may be taught in the matter by the instruction of the personality Godhead, and may thus act instrumentally to generate living entities without being conditioned by such activities. Just give me 1 second because I wanted to pull up something here. So, get it. Okay. All right. So, this, let me see here exactly. So, we are leading up again to the Chatur Sloki. we went to it, and then we jumped back. So this verse here is highlighting. So previously, Brahma is more or less asking like understand things. Similarly, he's asking to understand things. So in this verse, he's specifically asking to pretty much like not fall into Maya, which is, I think. Well, I don't think, but what is this? What is Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita? A tree bear gunamaya bhaver. So and all, what is this? The three, tree bear. So in the three worlds, or three, upper, middle, lower planetary systems, every tree bear gunamaya bhaver e sarvamidam jagat mohitam nabijanati. So pretty much Krishna's explaining that. I think that's 7:12. If you want to pull that up, I got the Bhagavad Gita here. Let's see who gets there quicker. So, oh no, it's not. It's 7:13. So deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. So there's gunamayi. The Prabhupada also says here. Oh, he says that too. Gunamayi Maya. So these three modes of material nature. So Maya is difficult to deal with, no matter who you are, whether you're the worm and stool, you're Indra, you're Lord Brahma. It's a problem in the material world. So in essence, the main point of this verse is that that Prabhupada makes a point in the end of the purport that Brahma wants to be saved from the pitfall of pride. And so I'll kind of like get more on that later in the class, but that's kind of like the essence here. And so Srila Prabhupada in the purport, I thought he opened up with an interesting sentence. Where, like Srila Prabhupada sometimes in some of his purports, he makes points or he says things that like in a certain way or like very uniquely that aren't found in any other purport. And I kind of felt that way about reading this first sentence, that Brahmaji does not want to become a speculator dependent on the strength of his personal knowledge and conditioned to material bondage. So that's like, one of those verses that we can kind of like, read every day and get some inspiration from, is in the sense that, that we don't want to fall into the illusion of thinking, of using our own intellect, our own sensory, expertise or whatever it is, and then just become entangled in the material world. So that's kind of like one angle that sentence is mentioning. So I'll go on a couple side points and then get to the main thing. So one thing, when I was reading this, it reminded me of a couple verses from the 8th canto, and there's specifically one. I'm trying to find it. I think it's what is it? Find here. Yeah, this one here. So, Jano Janasya Visate Satim Gatim Yaya Prapadyete Daratyam Tamaha Tom Tomaham Gyanam Amoga Anjasa Prapajite Yena Jano Nijam Padam. Anyways, I kind of quote these verses often, but specifically this first line, Jano Janasya Visate Satim Gatim. If you want to pull it up, you can. I think it's Canto 8, chapter 24, text 51. It's the last chapter of the 8th canto. Yeah, okay, so 51. So, this verse explains So specifically that first line, a materialistic so-called guru instructs his materialistic disciples about economic development and sense gratification. Because of such instructions, the foolish disciples continue in the materialistic existence of ignorance. So Srila Prabhupada makes a point here that there's two classes of living entities. And that's also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. What's that? No, not Dvabhima Purushaloka. But it's mentioned in the 15th chapter. It's like on the tip of my tongue, that verse. Anyways, it's not coming to me. Another verse is coming to me, but that's not the verse that I'm trying to quote right now. So Krishna makes a point in the Bhagavad Gita that there's two types of living entities, the fallible and infallible. It is ashara, akshara, avacha. I think that's it. So those who are fallible, it means they're prone to like fall down like and be into Maya, and they're trapped and lose your energy. Whereas the others are infallible in the sense they're not in Maya, which is the point being made in this particular verse. And then within that, conditioned state, then you have different types of living entities, like the other verse I was quoting. What do you have? You have the asuras and the devas. Then the asuras, they're against the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this particular verse is that we have here from the 8th canto. It's making that point. And then also too, this is a similar theme that runs through practically all these verses that are quoted by Satyavati Raj, in the sense that you have you have the living entity who's lost and who's stuck in ignorance. He's conditioned by material nature, and then you have the spiritual master who's giving the knowledge, giving the chance for living entity to come out of that illusory condition. And then also you have the bogus guru that propounds that knowledge. So the living entity, though the conditioned soul, like nowadays we don't see people whatever. You don't really see maybe someone that's whatever, big company, working at Microsoft or Apple or whatever, these big tech companies, they don't really have a bogus guru. They may not have any guru, or whatever, that's instructing them in sense gratification. But the main thing is that they accept the siksha, or the authority of people that are misleading. And so they don't know what the goal of life is. What is this? Anyways, this verse isn't coming to mind, but this verse in this chapter, Chakshurandasa Yatagani Katas. So this verse in particular is saying that it's further down. But this verse in particular is saying that Chakshurandasi Yatagani Katas. So one who's blind, they don't know what the goal of life is. Tatajana Shyavada Sobaro Guruhu. So as a result, they accept a spiritual master that's a fool and a rascal. Prahlad Maharaj also gives a similar verse. Anyways, not coming to mind right now. But anyways, this verse is the same point. But what is this? Andar antar upaniyamanas. Oh, no te vidu swartha kantimhi Vishnu. Darashaya bir arthamaniha. So both these verses, anyways, are making the point. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying that they don't know that the goal of life is Vishnu, the Gatim. Whereas Satyavati Raj in this point, he's just making this is blind. They don't have the power of sight. If someone can't see, it's what will they be able to do in matters of getting from point A to point B? It'd be very difficult. So these people, they may, not accept that way. They may not accept formal initiation and all these things and follow those vows, but they're blind to what the goal of life is, and so as a result, they continue on an illusory way of life. So then they take the body as a self, and then they take that their intellect is so amazing, and then to develop technology is so great. And this is not just in the technological field. This is in all fields that people do that they run in this way, and they're disillusioned. And someone may be a nice person or whatever, very mannerly, but still, if that individual is not situated on the platform of spiritual knowledge, however nice one may be, they'll be forced to continue on in the materialistic way of life and suffer. And people may not like to hear that how can you say somebody is working in a hospital and technology, science is developing so much, and like whatever, like pretty soon we'll be able to, if someone's blind, we'll be able to fix that, or whatever they may say. Somebody loses a limb, we can repair that, we can regenerate that limb. So yeah, and then that person may be nice, he's very maybe religious, may not be religious, but they're doing great work. But the thing is that the work that they're doing is just on the bodily platform. And we live in the material world, so there are, if someone gets sick, there's a need for doctors and things like that. But if there's no source of spiritual knowledge available, then, what's the point of just making the body healthy and strong? Then people just continue on a materialistic way of life, and they don't inquire into anything further. Just like we may give the example that, we may have a very elaborate educational institution, like they may open, we're going to spend billions of taxpayer dollars to open like the best school in Atlanta. We're going to get all the best teachers from all around the world. We're going to have the best teachers. We're going to have the best building. We're going to have the best janitors. Everything in that school is going to be top notch, A+. We're going to have the best grass outside, the best roads. It's going to be like the best school ever. So you get the best school ever, and then it's like, okay, like you're going to educate everybody. You this school is like, you put your child in this school from like, the day that they can start learning from the tender age of childhood. And then that child, not only, there's no need to go to another university because this is a university also. And so this is like the complete knowledge, the sum totum bonum of all material knowledge in the universe. So they create that school, right? And then you enlist your child into there. But the thing is that they have they don't teach, any language, and then they also don't teach mathematics. So it's like, what will that individual be able to learn if that child goes into that school? He won't learn how to speak, he won't learn basic math. But then they're teaching all this amazing science and all these things. So the point is that, like, that they have this idea of teaching these high-level things of knowledge, but they miss the basic point of life. That life, you have to learn how to speak. You have to learn how to interact with people. So if we don't learn spiritual knowledge, we won't know how to interact with the world properly. It'd just be like a missed point. And that's why Srila Prabhupada always makes that point time and time again, that unless you add Krishna, you just have a bunch of zeros. But then you add that one Krishna, then everything has meaning. Also, Lord Chaitanya and his householder, Leela, when he was a logistician, towards the end of that, he started connecting everything with Krishna and explaining grammar in that way. So this is the situation of society currently, is just being without that spiritual knowledge. And so Srila Prabhupada makes the point, the purport is that he pretty much hints at it. So there's the living entity, the illusory stage, and then, so the living entity, the illusory stage, he's instrumental. So anyway, so the clear point here is that we're always like an instrument in the hands of, in the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And I was thinking about this a little bit. I wasn't able to think about it as much as I wanted to, but anyways, the thinking doesn't end. The thing about the verse that you speak on in the Bhagavatam class doesn't end after you give the Bhagavatam class. So I still got time to think about it. But Srila Prabhupada makes the point about how, we should all, like, pretty much that everyone in clear consciousness should understand that, like, in all activities we're an instrument. And so, like, it's, like, and I was thinking about that just, like, on a bigger level, in the sense that, like, when it was, like, from the transition from Dwapara Yuga to Kali Yuga, like, somehow or other that had to be arranged. And that Krishna arranged that through his will. And it wasn't something that was, like, arranged that, like, all, like, the, all the kings on the planet got together and was like, okay, like, Kali Yuga's coming, so, like, let's facilitate this. It's just, like, things just happen naturally. Things just got degraded. And similarly, when it's the transition of the, Sanya from Kali Yuga to Satya Yuga will happen, that'll happen by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Things will just flow in that sense. So in the bigger scale, we may see the world and you think that, like, this politician is doing this, and then this company is doing that, and then this secret society is controlling the world, or whatever it may be, or that there's, aliens coming down from lower planets, and, like, I don't know, you guys heard that kind of stuff? I mean, I think it's a common thing these days nowadays. And so, we may like think like that, but then, but the main thing is that, Krishna is and that's point made in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Sarvasya hamri sanivishito, matasmritir jnanam aponanam cha. That Krishna is giving knowledge, memory, forgetfulness, and then this other verse, what is this? Yantru Yudani Maya. So Krishna is situated in the heart of the living entity, and he's directing the wanderings. So Krishna is always in control, and he's always allowing things to go on according to how the material world should be carried out. And so living entity is instrumental in that sense. And also living entity is bound by the laws of the material world. It's not that, people people can't just do what they want when they want. They're bound by time, space. It's not that I can just be here and then in 10 seconds be in India, because I'm conditioned. We can only understand so much. After 1 or 2 days we have to sleep. So we're bound by, material nature in just simple way. So Krishna is not bound in that way. Conditioned entities also, they're not bound in that sense also. An unconditioned living entity, a liberated soul, may, sleep, eat, and all these things, engage in the material world, but he's not bound in that sense, that he becomes, held, tied down by that, by the rope, because gunamai, also another understanding of that is that there's ropes. So just like there's that picture in the Bhagavad Gita, I think you guys had it up last week, of that man that was, not that man, there's a couple people there, but pretty much the picture is it's like a stairway. So on the top of the stairway is Radha Krishna, and then the bottom of the stairway is, the pretty much hell. You pulling that picture up? So I think I see it there. And so anyways, it's like one of those pictures you could study. But it's, this picture here kind of highlights it. So living entity kind of has a choice in the material world. So anyways, there's three little, I don't know what those are, demons or goblins or whatever. But they have different ropes and they're pulling the living entity. And so this man is being expertly pulled by a woman. And what is it? There's also that kind of example there in the West of the horse chasing the carrot. So you put a donkey, but the kind of idea is that future longing for sense gratification, but that day doesn't come. So anyways, this living entity chases his material desires down, and I don't know, that guy's heart's burning at the end. And then it kind of the more that he progresses down that stairway, it seems like the darker he gets also. He becomes trapped by the mode of ignorance. And then she also looks like she's got some jewelry too. Anyways, I don't know why he's chasing that jewelry. But so this is gunamai. So the ropes. So the living entity becomes, so the modes of material nature, they act in subtle ways actually. And that's why, we have these rules in Krishna consciousness to be clean, to chant Hare Krishna properly, to not associate with a mode of passion. Don't eat too much, don't eat too little. All these things here. Don't eat too many sweets, because these things will influence us in the mode of passion. And we have to be on guard of being pulled down in the passion of ignorance, not sleeping too much, all these things. Because if we constantly associate with mode of passion of ignorance, then Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita in many places. But in short, if we associate much with the mode of passion, then that will lead to hankering, lamenting. It'll lead to increase wanting desire, having an increase of desires, material desires, of there's so many things. That's generally the gist of it. And then a mode of ignorance is just it doesn't lead to knowledge, it's just plain ignorance, darkness, sleep, just putting things off. Prabhupada says in one purport that what is symptomized by the mode of ignorance is procrastination, that something that can be done in 5 minutes takes weeks or months to take care of. I remember when I first read that purport, I thought of a friend of mine that I grew up with. He was super procrastinating, anything and everything, just that would take 5 minutes, he would put off for months and months. and just like was completely like in the mode of ignorance about like everything. So, and there's always a constant competition also for those modes. That's also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. So in Krishna consciousness, we want to stay above the modes. We want to be transcendental to that. Daiviyesha gunamayi. So we surrender to Krishna. And what is it? Mameviye prapadyante mayame tanantite. So, and Krishna will help us overcome the illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by Krishna's mercy. And so I want to go now to that's kind of the side point, but the main point of this verse, which is the fact that, Brahma, kind of bring it back to the point, so he's understanding in his position, and so Prabhupada makes a point here, that he's the most exalted living entity in the universe. And it's difficult for us to even like imagine such a thing, because when we look at the world, like, we can give examples and like where we talk about like Microsoft, Amazon, and whatever, Apple, and like we can like, understand that because it's kind of like within our like scope of reality. It's like we can see, or we used to see Steve Jobs or whatever, Bill Gates and all these people, and we can see it, or presidents, and like we can kind of like work with that and see, okay, and then we learn that too, like whatever, the school, you have the president, and then there's this branch and that branch, and then there's the Senate, and then the Congress, and then, whatever, we learn all those different things. So we kind of like understand, and we can see, okay, the president and the power and this and that. So, but Brahma and the universal workings of the Brahmanda, of the particular, universe that we live in, and the planetary systems, it's much more complicated, and it's something much more difficult. We hear and we see through the eyes of Shastra about how that works and how living entities behave there. And I mentioned this in other classes also. But so generally, so we kind of like, I was giving you those examples, and that's kind of like how we like see the world in that sense, that we're kind of like we're conditioned in that way. And we view reality differently according to the country that we're born in, or the values we have, or whatever. We have like a certain lens that we see things. And so in Krishna consciousness, we're trying to purify that lens and not see through that conditioning. Just like someone may grow up and they may think that whatever, that life is just whatever, life comes from chemical. So then they see the world in that view, and then they understand everything accordingly. And then they see the sunset rise, and they think, oh, it's like the whatever, the workings of science, and then that the universe exploded and the sun was in the perfect way. So then like this, and then the colors we see that's due to the the color prism, and then this and that, and then whatever. That's kind of how they see things. But we're on this earthly planet, so then we have like a certain way that we generally look at society. Whereas in other planets, they see things differently. On the heavenly planets, they occasionally see Vishnu. So, and it's described in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And then different planets, Vishnu, like the yogis, they'll see Vishnu in the heart, like on Janaloka. And then the four Kumaras, sometimes they travel around from different planets. So we don't have experience of something like that. It seems like something like crazy and far out. Like if four like young little babies were to just appear here and be floating down from like, the top of, coming from like there, that'd be pretty cool. In the sun, they're floating down and they're shining. We'd be like, whoa, this is freaking crazy. Like, like pull out your camera, like get this on, film this. This is wild. So like, we'd be like, that'd be like blowing our mind. And then like probably just from like how crazy that situation was, like if they spoke anything, like we probably would just be like blown away that there's like four babies floating in the sky right now. And like people wouldn't probably even get past that point. So the thing is that, but that's like in other planets, it's completely normal. And then they'd be like, oh, it's the four Kumaras. And then they would offer obeisances, and they get the arti tray and do arti and do puja and wash their feet. And we seen that with King Prithu. King Prithu like saw them and offered obeisances, and he received shiksha from them, but he wasn't like freaking out that there's like four babies floating in the sky. It was like what, because that's natural. It was like it's the four, everybody knows it's the four Kumaras. And then Brahma comes, he has four heads. It's like, oh, it's Lord Brahma. It's not like, oh my God, this guy has four heads. What the heck is going on? It's not like they're not like conditioned in that way. That's not like the Maya that they're conditioned by they're just not existing in that material modes. But the living entities are existing. They are they are in Maya, because we read that verse from the Bhagavad Gita. It's in the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. So people are in Maya, conditioned living entities. But their whole view of reality is different. That's just the point I'm making there. So, and they're seeing Vishnu, and then there's, just like also mentioned in the 8th canto of Bhagavatam, kind of just to highlight this more. In the fight, I believe, with Bali Maharaj and the demons, Bali Maharaj and the demons, if you want to look at it that way. But Bali Maharaj and the Devatas, it's described that they were, riding on like tigers and things like that, and human beings, and they were flying on, different birds and stuff like that. And it's just, it's something spectacular that we can't comprehend. So Brahma's position is like something that we can't even imagine. Like if we read descriptions of Satyaloka, it's like illuminating and things like that. And it's just a whole like different set of reality that's difficult to understand. So Brahma, so we can like sometimes think about that when we think about Brahma's position, and like, so anyways, that's Brahma's position. I'm just trying to give a point of like how reality is different. So Brahma is empowered, and so his job is to create the material world, which like we can't even think of, like even let alone like imagine like how that is or understand how those things work. And it's super complicated. So it was much more complicated than anything in this material world. People go and they get their PhD. It's much more complicated than that. And then whatever, they write their doctorate thesis. So Brahma has an incredibly unique job also. It's not like there's like two Brahmas like competing for the post or something like that. Brahma's got it. He's locked in. That's it. He whatever he did in a previous life, like, A+, like now you're Brahma. And so this is to give a little insight, but this is Brahma's position. And then also too, there's some description given in the 3rd canto. We'll get there, and I don't know how long, maybe like a year or something. And then we'll read more descriptions about Brahma, how he creates the material world, and there's more description given there about that. And just kind of like, anyways, without going so much into detail about Brahma. So Brahma is exalted, and he has a difficult task, and it's much more difficult than we can imagine. And so he's praying and he's asking for the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is very important. And the mercy that he's asking for is relevant. He's asking not to fall into Maya, specifically here without being conditioned by pride. So Brahma has all this knowledge, and he's praying to act an instrument. And so the thing is that, as we read, that conditioned, you're an instrument, or not conditioned, you're an instrument. You just may be an instrument in a different way. So whether or not, in one sense, Brahma accepts or, asks for that mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has a particular duty to do, which is to, manage the material world, to create things, to get things flowing, and get things going. And we understand in the Srimad Bhagavatam also that there are some Brahmas that they aren't pure devotees. They may be devotees to some degree, but they're not trying to surrender fully to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They may be, it's a little mixed. It's like, I'm Krishna conscious, but at the same time, like, got my little thing going on, and like, I'm going to enjoy the material world in a different way. It's like hard to imagine like what it means to enjoy the material world as Lord Brahma. Like, he can create things. I mean, he has mystic powers. It's like, I can't even like fathom that. I mean, maybe we just like take it home, like whatever, like whoever the most powerful person is, like in the material world on this planet. So Brahma, he's asking for the mercy to be an instrument, and so the main thing is he doesn't want to be bewildered by that, by false pride, by ego, by thinking, I am the creator, I've done something amazing, I've done all this, looking at the world and thinking I've created it all. Sometimes people, like crazy people may think like that, but Brahma, in some way, he can think like that because he was instrumental in it. He helped with it. Someone may create some big building and they think, well, I like created that, or like that's my intelligence, and they feel some pride in that. I created this skyscraper, and every time they walk past it, they think that it's due to me. So Brahma he can literally think like that, I created like this world, and then I put, I was given the intelligence of how to do it, and but he doesn't want to fall into that mire, that pitfall of pride. And so in Krishna consciousness, to make all of this relevant, we can similarly fall into a similar trap of pride in executing Krishna consciousness, of thinking that, that what I'm doing, whatever. And I've seen it in my own life and seen it in others' lives, that we can, we join Krishna consciousness, and we don't really have so much to be prideful about because we don't really know anything. And, everything we do wrong. And we're always getting, chastised, no, don't use your other hand. Don't use this hand. Then switch this hand. Now go wash your hand and do like this. And it just it's like bewildering or whatever. Or someone tries to give you something and you take it with the wrong hand or whatever it is, or like that, or like, now you got to go take a shower. It's like everything you're doing wrong. And then as time goes on, then we kind of like learn to navigate the roads a little bit. And then pride can set in, or egoism can set in, or whatever. And then we think, I know all these things, and like this and that, the other thing. I remember when I first started distributing books, I went out on the streets or something, and I just did like a couple books, I remember the first time I did books, anyways, the first couple times I did books, I didn't really do that many books. But I was like super ecstatic, like, oh my God, like I just did a couple small books. It's like amazing. And then, I did like one hardback Bhagavad Gita. It's like, oh my God, like I felt like I was going to die in ecstasy. And then I went to San Diego, and I was distributing some books there. And I wasn't doing so many books. And then I remember I don't remember exactly like all the details, but like I wasn't doing so many books or something, and somehow they're like I was talking to my Sankirtan leader at the time, and I said, I just did like a couple books or whatever, but like I'm happy with that. Like I'm not like attached to doing so many books or something like that, and like pretty much saying like anyways, I think of the point that, I didn't do so many books, but like I'm happy with that. And then he was making the point that not making the point, but he was saying, well, like good luck with that because it ain't gonna last, which is like true and not true. And so as time went on, I kind of realized that, whatever I was doing, like those couple books I was doing, as I was able to distribute more books, I wasn't like so satisfied with like that score back then. And though I may have like done like, like it was an okay day and I did like way more books than I would have done like, previously, like I wasn't like happy with that because I wanted to distribute more books. So it's Krishna conscious sometimes, and of course we want to distribute a lot of books and like that. It's not that we always want to go out and distribute like 2 books. We go from distributing 2 books to 100 books, and then like we distribute 2 books and it's like, it's okay. But the thing is that, if we give our full energy and we try as best as we can, then we have to be satisfied by the results and understand that maybe that might be the arrangement of Krishna. Just like, for instance, we may go from distributing 2 books to 100 books to only 10 books or something, because we may not have the energy, in old age or something, to distribute so many books, or may not be able to be out there as long, or whatever the condition is. Of course, we can surrender in different spheres. I mean, we may not be able to stand for like 6 or 7 hours, but, whatever, if we're 70 or 80, but, we could distribute books in a wheelchair. So there's always that impetus there. But the point is that in Krishna consciousness, we can start to slowly get off track and become more attached to the material side of Krishna consciousness, of showing results, of showing position, and just get overtaken by pride and start to think, well, I'm a big devotee because ABC or XYZ, that I've been around for so long, and that may be there. We've been around for so long, and we should be respected, but we have to see, actually, are we behaving in a respectable way, or is that pride really needed for the service that's actually at hand? Of course, as we should always respect devotees that are senior, but then we may become in a senior position, and then maybe somebody doesn't know and they don't respect us properly. Do we get on a big whole trip about that? Just like one time there was a new devotee, and he was new, and he didn't know, to call like a sannyasi Maharaj. And so I think he may have said prabhu or something. But anyways, he was just like new bhakta. And it's like, like if we have somebody that's coming, like comes every like 1 month or something, and they don't, we may say, oh, like you call Maharaj or something. But then the Maharaj was flipping out about that and making a huge, big thing. And no offense to him, but it wasn't like something that was such a big deal. It was a new devotee. So it's like you kind of have to, like, sometimes you have to, in spreading Krishna consciousness, to be a little bit broad-minded. And we see that with Srila Prabhupada when he was new, that he would wait for the shower and things like that. Now that, that's out of Srila Prabhupada's humility, of course. But the thing is that, the more advancement we make in Krishna consciousness, and not that we toss humility out the window, we have to be careful of pride, actually, and egoism, and of thinking that, demanding that we should be respected and that I'm somebody very important. Because the thing is that, we may, however important we may be in Krishna consciousness or in the material world or whatever, things go on, like that. And we can see, if we look at the history of ISKCON, that there have been devotees that have done tremendous service, and all glories to them. But it's not that when they left that the Krishna conscious movement just stopped and just, was over. Srila Prabhupada, for instance, in these great acharyas, they came and they taught and they lived exemplary lives of pure devotion to Krishna. But it's not that once they left that everything just finished and then, just stopped Krishna consciousness completely. Srila Prabhupada in these great acharyas, they wanted Krishna consciousness to continue. And things continue on by their mercy and by their inspiration. And of course, the disciples feel that connection to the spiritual master through the instruction. So in that sense, the spiritual master is eternally present with the disciple through the instruction. But the point is that even other devotees, they, preaching so much and doing so many things continue on, and things, the ball keeps rolling. And so we should be on guard, and we should be aware of that. And however exalted the position may be, Lord Brahma here is being mentioned. He had an exalted position. And so he would be recognized very much. So we also have to be careful. We may be doing great things. We may be doing amazing things. But we shouldn't fall into the trap of thinking that I am doing amazing things. That's the point, of thinking that I am someone to be worshipped. I'm someone to be recognized. I am someone that, I deserve this. But a true disciple thinks that it's always the mercy of the spiritual master and praise of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that I will not be deluded by, this work that I'm doing or this activities I'm doing. And Brahma also, in the next verse, he specifically says that I pray that I pray that all this may not give rise to pride, as if I were the supreme. So we can similarly pray in that way, because ultimately it's just another trick of Maya. That we then Bhaktivinoda Thakur also similarly plays like that. That I'm paraphrasing, but he says that that I've become people worship me as a Vaishnava and a guru. So it's just another trick of Maya, something along those lines. That we come into Krishna consciousness, and then Maya plays a trick that, you're such a good devotee, you're so amazing, you're so pure, you're above Maya. We should never think that we're above Maya. We don't see Lord Brahma praying in that way, that he's above Maya, that he has no problem. Like, yeah, Maya, whatever, I'll deal with it when it comes. So we should be on guard, and we should be alert, and we should understand. And we should keep note of that. And I've seen so many times. And the thing is, it's not that somebody comes new and, they have no ego and they're so pure and humble. But it's just that anartha doesn't get a chance to manifest until maybe someone gets more senior or more in a position of authority or something like that. Then that impurity can manifest. So one has to always be alert and on top of that. And that is the difficulty, actually. And I've also seen in my own life, too, just, being in different positions of leadership. And then it's good to have devotees there that can balance the situation and check, so that one doesn't get too carried away and this, that, and the other thing of maybe being too heavy, or not being heavy enough, or mismanaging things, or whatever it may be. It's always good to have that association to check that. And so pride is something to watch out for in Krishna consciousness. It's a subtle thing. It's not something that is as gross as, someone smoking cigarettes or something like that. But we have to always be on guard. Because the thing is that Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada would say it's a razor's edge. And, a little bit of inattention, one can get cut. And so we don't want to waste our spiritual life away and for something small as pride or ego or whatever it may be. There's so many little small things in the material world that we can waste our life away. So we should be attentive to that, and we should be Krishna consciousness, and we should always pray, as Srila Prabhupada said, that as one disciple asked Srila Prabhupada one time. So in a lecture, Prabhupada at one point said that, I will never fall down. And then Prabhupada was praying to the deities, and the devotee asked him, what are you praying for? And then he said, I'm praying that I'll never fall down. And then the devotee was saying, well, I thought you said you can't fall down. And Prabhupada said, I can't fall down because I'm always praying that I can't fall down. So we should be attentive in that sense, because we may get a lot of empowerment, we may get a lot of mercy, but we should never, ever be in the illusion that, now that we're safe, that's something we should always be in, that now we're above Maya, or now I'm above pride, or whatever it may be, or I've conquered, all the unwanted things in my heart. I'm in Krishna Prem. We may experience, just like I was listening to a lecture by Bhakti Vikas Maharaj yesterday, he was saying that we may experience, ecstasy from chanting and so many other things, but we should also be aware that do we still have unwanted desires in our heart? Because if we do, then as the Bhakti Rasmrita Sindhu explains, and this may just be a shadow attachment, this may just be a reflection. We may not actually be on the topmost stage. So we should be careful in cultivating Krishna consciousness. It's a serious thing, and pride is one of those subtle anarthas that are mentioned, this labh, puja, prashishta. So, Hare Krishna. So anyways, I'll end there. I'm not going to take any questions or comments because it's supposed to end by 8:30. So anyways, so we can just stop there. So, Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Hare Krishna.